Hey everybody, welcome to Sound Bombing. I created this show for people who want to experience a radical, life-changing journey through the sounds of my diverse guests. I hope that each sound you hear on this show will strengthen your faith, encourage your dreams, and challenge you to awaken the greatness within you.
Drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We're gonna drop the bomb. Drop the bomb. We come to drop the bomb. Drop the bomb.
This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new values, and a new experience.
Lamar Darnell Shields.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, sound bombing community, wherever you are listening to us, in your car, at home, on your iPad, on your phone, on the cell phone, however you're listening to us. We're so grateful and honored that you are in the bomb shelter with me. Again, who am I? I am Dr. Lamar Darnell Shields, and I am always excited just to be above ground, excited that I am here, that not because I'm going to do anything amazing, because I don't think I'm that amazing, but what I've been told is I have some of the most amazing guests, and I think that's what makes this show so unique. I am so honored that you're joining me, because you could be anywhere today. You could be anywhere, and you decided to click on that button. You decided to hit whatever platform that you're listening to us on, because we're on every platform. But wherever you're tuning in from, I am so honored that you are here. Hey, I love this show. I get a chance to do this every single day. I interview some of the coolest people across the country who are some change makers, who are some folks who have done some amazing brain hacks to do some amazing things with their brain, because they're smart, they're smooth, they're witty, they are amazing, and they are funny. And today is no different. But if you are new to the show, welcome. If you are an old head, an old bomber, you know what time it is. We do our 3 breaths. Again, 3 breaths. And what that does for us is that it lays the foundation for the work that we're going to do, because many of us are bringing some negative energy. My goal is to bring positive energy. Many of us are bringing some energy, let me just say that we may not want in the space. So we like to clear the space, and I'm an avid meditator. It has saved my life, and I encourage you to do the same thing. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to put your feet on the floor, palms facing up, slowly close your eyes. We're going to go with the 3 breaths. And are you ready? I'm sure you are. So here we go. Inhale. Hold it 3 seconds. Exhale. 2 more times. Inhale. Hold it 3 seconds. Exhale. Now we're going to go a little deeper. We're going to hold it 5 seconds. Inhale. Hold it 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let it out. Bombers, what do we call that? We call that the breath of life. And you all know, if you listen to our show, almost every person that I bring into the bomb shelter, they use some type of meditation practice, or they have some type of ritual that keeps them focused, that keeps them on point, that keeps them energized, because again, we have been pulled in so many different directions. And I want to encourage you, if this is your first time meditating or using a mindfulness practice, welcome to the community. Let's get this party started. So a few CEOs inherited their positions from their predecessors, or otherwise obtained their jobs through some combination of personal connections and luck, not me. A large number of them, however, started from almost nothing and have had to work hard to achieve their inviolable records of success. Examining the fortunes and tribulations of successful entrepreneurs who've never had an easy walk ahead of them allows us to learn from their experiences and understand what motivated them in their rise to obscurity. Let's look at this example. The very first Starbucks opened its doors in Seattle back in 1971. I know you all just thought Starbucks popped up on the scene. Founded by 3 former students from the University of San Francisco. One was a writer. The other were two teachers. Shout out to all my teachers out there. They didn't brew coffee or sell pastries. They simply sold beans. Did you hear what I said? They sold beans. After being inspired by roasting legend Alfred Pete, 8 years later, it was a savvy former Starbucks employee, Howard Schultz, who is responsible for transforming a small coffee bean producer into this global coffee giant all over the globe. He actually explained his vision to the founders of this company in his early years, but they didn't share his foresight and instead sold the firm to him. Starbucks is now known for its employee-friendly philosophy. But we're not just going to talk about Starbucks, because we find out today from our next guest, Chad, about how grit and determination, let me say it again, I didn't say grits, I said grit and determination can lead to becoming a successful business owner. Once you find needs that aren't being addressed, it might one day take one thing to push you down the path of success. Who am I talking about? You know, I just said his name, Chad Peterson. He's an expert business broker and the founder of Peterson Acquisitions, an award-winning M&A firm. Chad's firm handles transactions in the 1 million. I ain't talking about monopoly money either. $1 million to $25 million range, dealing with some serious deals. He works with companies all over the United States and has completed international deals as well. Peterson's Acquisitions was recently named by one publication as the #1 ranked business broker in the United States. I told you we don't mess around. I told you we bring some serious people here. Chad is also not only an entrepreneur, but like me, he's an author, wrote the book From Blue to White, A Working Man's Guide to Self-Employment. Best-selling author Scott Alexander and Ryan Sonera's Success wrote the foreword for Chad's work. Chad also wrote a book, Swinging Doors, A Guide to Selling Your Company, and is the host of a podcast, Business Brokers, Buying, Selling, Growing, and Business. Listen, if you're an entrepreneur, if you want to be an entrepreneur, what I know about entrepreneurs, what I know about success leads clues. So I need you to move close to the sound, to the speakers, because in the building, right here, well, not really in the building, but you know what I mean. Put your hands together for my man, Chad Peterson. Chad, what's up, bro? How are you?
Well, man, I'm doing great. I love your style. I love your energy. You know, you're an absolute pro at what you do. It's evident. You come with a game plan. You come with a goal, and you deliver to your audience. And it's interesting to watch you work. You know, one of the things that I find interesting about you is, you know, let's take sports, for instance. Now, I don't watch sports. Now, I know that I'm kind of weird that way, that I don't watch sports, but you know, I'd rather watch a guy like you do his work than I would some basketball being thrown through the air. It's really impressive to see how you work and how you put together such a good podcast for your listeners, and I'm glad to be here.
Well, man, I'm honored to have you. Basically, Chad, I created this show just to be really selfish to myself, man. And then now I'm sharing people with that. I'm sharing you all with other people. I read about you. I read about all the people that come that we brought on the show because I want to learn everything. I want to learn as much as I can. And again, bringing on individuals like you who have these great stories are really inspiring to me. So I really appreciate, I receive what you said to me. I'm grateful and honored that you're with me. I am here to learn. Like I said, I started this show because I wanted to know so much. So I started to invite all these people, start reading about them. I said, you know what? I want to get them into the space. And then I want to once I learn, I want to share them with the world because I don't want to be stingy. I sometimes may be selfish, but I don't want to be stingy. And that's why you're here. So Chad, let's get down to it. First of all, let's talk about your health. You know, because of COVID, I like to check in. How are you doing? And let our listeners know where you are broadcasting, where you are meeting me in. What space, what city, what hamlet, what town, what country, where are you?
Well, right now I'm in Kansas City. You know, I do deals all over the country. You can find me in any state really, but right now I'm in Kansas City. That is my home base. As far as COVID goes, you know, I'm not worried about it. I was like everybody else. I was fearful about COVID for, I don't really know, maybe just a couple, 3 weeks. I was pretty fearful of it. And fear comes without having knowledge. And so as soon as I got into it and dug into it, yeah, I was a little more fearful even yet because I thought, man, the things that I'm finding are pretty hard to swallow. But it's not killing that many people. If you're immune compromised or whatever. I mean, the fact of it is that it's killing less than 1% of people. That, it's so the chances of survival are incredible. The world's gone and let itself get gripped by fear. I'm just not letting myself do it. I'm healthy. People say, "Why aren't you wearing a mask?" And I say, "Because I'm wearing a cape. I don't need it. And if I get it, I'm going to survive it."
Yeah. I love speaking things into existence. I love how you talk about fear, because someone told me a long time ago, you may agree or disagree, said fear stands for false evidence appearing as real.
Yeah.
And I think we are, in your work and in my work, we're coming in contact with a lot of people who are struggling, who are challenged with fear, who run from us. And what I know about you, because my engineer and my producer have sent me some amazing stuff, you grew up, you had a very unique childhood.
Very.
That taught you about integrity, hustle, discipline, and not to be fearful. How did your unique childhood help you cultivate who you are right now?
Well, other than the simple things, just like knowing that I had to work, which I did have to work, I knew that other people weren't going to do it for me. I knew the cavalry wasn't coming. I knew that if it was meant to be, it was up to me. I knew that as a young child. But aside from those basics, if you get into the nitty gritty of the emotional aspect of it, whenever you go through hardships, a tough childhood, a tumultuous upbringing, a crazy household, divorces, multiple divorces, things like that, it makes you, you kind of become a man too young. I tell people I've been a man since I was a child. Well, so I started really getting around people that I liked, that were, and what they were is they were entrepreneurs, they were business owners. And I got closer to them. When the fire is warm, you get closer to it, and that's what I did. And I learned a lot from them, even just as a young kid. They were, either I chose them or they just kept popping in my life, just these entrepreneurs that kept giving me just little doses of advice along the way. And I just realized that they got there from hard work, and I was going to get there too. And in light of having wisdom, because you don't have wisdom when you're that young, you just have the work aspect of it, but you have to have hard work and wisdom. Well, and in spite of not having the wisdom, I just had the work, but through the hard work, I obtained all the wisdom that I have now. And so once hard work catches up with wisdom, that's what you call luck. People say you're lucky. No, it's hard work with a combination of wisdom and making some right moves along the way, but also having the principles within you to be able to get somewhere. You have to have integrity. You have to be authentic. People give me a lot of grief or whatever about my beard. It's like, I've got this big beard and here I am selling 20, 30, $40 million businesses. You'd expect me to be walking out of Harvard or right off of Wall Street, wearing a tailored suit and, looking the part of like a CPA or a financial planner or something like that. So I think that my brand has really been a big thing because of how I look, my appearance. And then you get to knowing who I am and what I can offer you. And you realize that I'm a wealth of knowledge. And that's why I've got all these awards behind me and things that I've accomplished. It's because of hard work, discipline, and wisdom within my space and beyond my space, frankly. And that has gotten me where I'm at today.
Hey, man, I love the beard, man. Just itches my face. I'm scratching all the time. When you start early, it starts to grow. I love the beard. First of all, man, I love the beard on you, man. So let's talk about the beard, because you talked about that. Do you feel that your beard has been a turn off to people because you don't look the quote unquote package of what quote unquote success looks like?
Yes. Wow. Yeah. And
then how do you combat that? Let's talk about that as well.
Well, I really don't. I don't pay attention to it. I just say, okay, well, they must just not be my client. I'm not everybody's type. I mean, not everybody has to be my client. I mean, there's two ways to approach business. People are going to contact me that are my people that are not so judgmental or believe that I should look a certain way or whatever. So If they're turned off by me, that's okay. If 50% of people like me, that's cool. If 1 out of 2 don't like me, I'm still fine. Frankly, I don't want to work with people that are judgmental or they scowl because I look a certain way or whatever. It's what I am and who I am and what I can get accomplished for you and how driven I am to get businesses sold, to transform lives, to get them onto their next adventure, to help them turn the page in their life. And it's not just financially, it's not just career-wise, it's spiritually, it's emotionally, it's everything. I change lives. If you've been working a business for 10 or 15 years and you're just worn out and exhausted and you come to me and then the next 6 or 8 months, you could either retire or move on to your next adventure. What do you think I'm doing? I'm doing God's work there, not just selling a business. I'm changing people's lives. And if you do enough research on me, you'll see out there that people just love what I do for them. And that, quite frankly, is way more rewarding than the financial means of what comes from what I do.
And I'm so glad you said that. You added a word that I was going to throw in because you talked about wisdom and information, and I was about to say drive, but you said driven, so we already hit that. Mm-hmm. The reason why I brought up this concept of the beard, because quite often I don't look like the package of whatever that is when I come into spaces. And when you were talking to me off the air, like, should I call you doc? I'm like, listen, that means I got more student loans than the average person, brother. So you don't need to call me that. I work hard, but that don't really mean, because Chad, based on how you look and we have to be real clear with this. There are places that I come into because I'm a man of color, and they look around, they'll say, I'm looking for Dr. Shields, and I'm watching, but they don't say, I see their mouths moving like, and I look around and I'm just watching their faces. And so I'm like you, man, I don't allow this thing right here to get in the way of sort of my calling, my purpose, and my passion. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring you in, it brings you so different from a lot of entrepreneurs, you're unapologetically okay with who you are and what you're connected to. Because I think what happens, Chad, we're in these spaces, you're in the $1 million space. I'm in spaces with people that are changing lives like you are and who are also doing well. But they never get a chance to hear our stories, the stuff behind the scenes, the things that made us who we were as children. Because listening to you, I'm like, Chad's like, I can care less what other people talk about. And I'm like, that came from somewhere. That came from not just I made this deal last year, $1 million deal, but that came from somewhere when you were young, and maybe you want to share or some lessons that you learned. Let's talk about some of the early lessons that you learned about entrepreneurship that might have had, that from your childhood that sort of carried over into who you are right now.
Well, yeah, let me answer that. I will get to that, but let me say something. I'm a tough guy. I'm tough in my mind. I was a wrestler. Wrestlers are tough. Okay, I was a rugby player.
Oh, you played all the serious sports, man. Yeah, I used to tell my son, Chad, every fight does what? End up on the ground.
Sure. Yeah. And that's my world. And, and so, I'm a tough guy, but, I got an incredible heart. And as I've gotten older, I'm even more gentle and more heartfelt and more sincere. And I really, really want to help people. But make no mistake, at the end of the day, I got iron in me. And so when people want to be prejudiced, let's use that word, prejudging, and I don't fit the mold, kind of like you're like, I'm doctor. Well, it's something you pick up on, and it's probably something they don't realize they're doing. I get that too. I get a lot of that, but I look at it like this. It's not that I don't care that somebody doesn't like me. I feel bad for them if they don't like me because I got something for them. And so I go, okay, well, I guess I'm not your guy. I don't let it bother me. It's not that I don't care. I just don't let it really get to me. I want the guy that says, man, you know what? I read about you and I've heard about you and I love your strength. That's what I like. And I go, you're my guy. Okay. Because now I can work with you. So it kind of weeds people out. As far as your direct question about where I come from when I was a kid and what it taught me, well, when I was knocking on doors as a little boy, just knocking on doors and saying, hey, can I do something to make $5? That's what I was doing. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know if I was going to pick weeds. I didn't know if I was going to walk a dog. I didn't know if I was going to, do anything. I mean, I don't know. I didn't know if I was going to clean a garage. I just said, hey, can I make $5 from you? Well, that taught me to knock on doors and be told no. It taught me that I had to do the things that they wanted me to do. I had to learn. I mean, it's not like I was taught how to do these things. And I just took that, I'm not afraid to knock a door. I'm not afraid to get told no. I'm not afraid to expose myself. I'm not afraid of rejection. Just keep on knocking doors, keep on doing what you're supposed to be doing, and money and success will come your way. That's what I learned. And I took that into my teenage years, and I took that into, I was a pilot. I was a commercial pilot before 9/11. And I took that same mentality into that. I'm all in life. I'm all in because I believe that's what it takes. So with my career, with what I do, I'm all in. I'm not doing this as a side hustle. I'm not just, I'm in the deep end of the pool. I'm not hanging out in the shallow end here. I'm fully committed. I burn my boats behind me. I'm in this thing. And, full submersion into success, not only for other people, but for personal success. That's what makes the great men great men. And that's where I am. That's where I'm headed. I'm not going to veer off that path.
So what makes your business approach different from the business two doors down from you?
Well, that's a great question. So the people that are in my business are one of the main motivators that I got into this business. I mean, business brokers are, if I had to do some prejudice, thinking myself and do some stereotyping myself, I would say it this way. I would say that the people in my business are in their 50s. They've got some gray hair, haven't been to the gym in a while. They're probably wearing a sport coat. It probably has the elbow things on it, on that sport coat. Yeah, probably has that on it. They like to golf a lot. They're on the golf course once or twice a week. They're having drinks by 1:30. They're allergic to picking up the phone and doing cold calling. They're almost allergic to hard work. They're not really actively marketing your business. Now, the reason I know these things is not because I'm slamming the people that are in my industry. I know them because I had businesses of my own that I needed to sell. And when I took my businesses to them to sell, I'm going, hey man, what's going on? What are we doing? And, they're busy. Well, nothing yet. And that was their mentality. And so after I sold several of my own businesses, I thought, man, I can do it better than these guys. And that's what I did. So let me tell you a great story. It's a quick one, but it's great. So I opened up this company. I opened up Peterson Acquisitions, and this huge firm, and I won't mention their name because that'd be trashy of me. But they were laughing almost every Tuesday morning meeting. They were laughing at me saying, "This guy, what's this guy going to do?" Because and you know what? That fuels me. And maybe it was what you said earlier, whenever they can't recognize you as a doctor, does that fuel you a little bit?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, man, just give me some more fuel, man. Well, it just gives me more fuel to do better. And instead of them laughing at me now, they worry about me now. They're like, man, we better up our game. And I have just trounced them. Man, so I ask now, because I know some people over there, I'm like, oh, they're not laughing at me now, are they? They're like, absolutely not. They're not laughing at you. I've outdone every one of their brokers times 10. They've never even had a broker. By the way, this particular firm would not hire me. They wouldn't hire me. And I just asked gently if they would hire me, because maybe I could make a good enough deal where they'd give me a good enough home to work at. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't hire me. So the owner of that huge firm looks at me and realizes he's never had a broker like me working for him. And he had his opportunity. And after I got off the phone with him, I said, well, I am now your greatest competitor. And he, again, thought that he would laugh at me. And he kept laughing at me. But there's no more laughing going on anymore. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love those stories. Stories are so important. And speaking of stories, my producer sent me some copies of we've gone through some of the booklets and read some things about you, and very, very, very successful, doing extremely well. But what has failure taught you about success? And what are some of the greatest lessons that you learned from failure?
Well, I haven't had an ultimate failure yet. You can fail whatever you thought you were going to do. Mm-hmm. you can fail a certain goal, but I haven't had a total failure yet. I mean, I was making millions of dollars up until '07, mid '07, and 2008, the big, financial crash. I mean, yeah, it killed my business. It would look like a failure. That is the closest thing to a failure I've had, just because it was totally out of my control. I was selling subprime mortgages. I had 120 employees. I had 5 locations, and all of a sudden it was like the water just got shut off. I mean, there was nothing left. But as far as other failures that I've had, they were failures, and it sounds too cliche to say that I learned something and kept on going, so they weren't a failure. So I'm not going to say the cliche thing. I'm going to say it a little differently. In the end, I had a success. I failed a bunch along the way. I did this wrong and that wrong, and I thought, oh man, what am I doing? What am I doing? And I kept doing it and switching my approach. And in the end, I was able to have a success in the end. For instance, I failed several times throughout owning those businesses, but I ultimately sold those businesses. So I ultimately had a success. I lost my aviation career in 2001. That really felt like a failure to me. Again, I didn't have much choice in it. 9/11 happened. I lost my job. Everybody got furloughed. The world was changed forever. Airports were changed. And you know what? I'm glad that I lost my job as a pilot, because ultimately I wouldn't have enjoyed it long term. Sitting in a glorified bus, being a bus driver for the next 40 years is not something I want to do. So failures can end up being blessings. And as long as you don't have an ultimate failure, which is to say you're like, I totally screwed up. I didn't win. I didn't do anything right. It didn't start right. The middle wasn't right. The end wasn't right. I've never had one of those. I've just had a bunch of small mistakes, and I was able to keep going and get to a success in some manner.
Well, I know from my reading about you, you are a great salesman. When you say you sell heaven and hell, what does that actually mean?
Ah, man, you are doing some reading on me. All right. So I do sell heaven and hell. And there's a guy in a cubicle right now who believes his life is hell. Now, this is perception. It's all human perception, and you can choose your own reality. But let's just, for conversation's sake, understand that there's a guy right now in a cubicle. He's got 5 or 6 or 7 bosses. He hates it. He's not driven by reward. He's driven by a paycheck. He's not driven by opportunity. He's driven by fear of losing his job. He's not driven to assert the best person he can authentically into that organization. He is fearful of the corporate environment and that ladder that he can't seem to climb. And only if he could be political enough to climb that ladder, he would, but he doesn't know how. That's where that guy's living. That's hell. Where there's another guy who owns a business. He owns a business. He's got, 35, 50, 80 employees. He makes a couple $1 million a year, but his wife isn't happy that he works so much, and he's losing touch with his kids, and he's losing touch with his own soul. He can't find peace within himself because this business owns him. He doesn't own it. So he's in his own form of hell. Well, if I can get the guy who's in the cubicle to look at the guy who owns his business, that guy's going to see heaven in it. And if I can talk to the guy who owns that business and he thinks he's in hell, I can say, hey man, let's retire this thing. Let's retire you. Let's sell this thing. Let's get you to a new opportunity. Why don't you take all of your winnings, your earnings from this sale? Why don't you do something that requires few, if not any employees? Why don't you take your wisdom and your passion of your success and go start a podcast? That might seem like a new heaven to him. So I sell heaven and hell depending on where you're at in your mind. I can move you up and away from what's bothering you in your life and give you a new start and help you start your new adventure.
So speaking of new adventure, what's happening right now that's exciting to you in your business currently?
Right now, what's so exciting about what I'm doing is that COVID has improved my life, and everybody else can complain about it. I look at it a little differently. It's improved my life. Everything is now so technology driven. So I'm able to spend more time at home, less time traveling. I'm busier than ever. People want to sell, and the people that are opportunists, they want to buy business. There's a big misconception right now that inaction is taking action. It's not. Just because this COVID thing is happening, don't sit by the wayside. Don't rest on your laurels. Go buy something. Go buy a business. If you can't find a job, boo-hoo. Go buy a job. So people are contacting me because they want to buy a job right now. They're like, hey, give me something that's, making $250,000 a year. I can live well and, improve my situation. So COVID has helped me from a communication standpoint. I'm doing everything by video. I'm way more efficient. It's amazing if you really count how many meetings that you have in an annual basis that are useless. You go to that meeting, you spend an hour and a half of your time, 2 hours, and the person really isn't serious about what they want to do. They don't know. They're not going to follow up with you. I like just hopping on a phone call or doing a Zoom call and getting right down to brass tacks whether or not we're going to do business or not. And you know what I say? Hey, if we're not going to do business, great. Let's just stop there. But if we are, let's do it efficiently now, because I don't need to get dressed up and pretty and see if you like my dimples. Let's just talk on the phone and see if we want to do business with one another, because I'm serious about my business. I'm serious about selling your business. And if you're not as serious as I am about selling your business, we probably can't work together. And that's how I approach things. But COVID has improved efficiency in my life, and I'm busier than ever from it.
So what was your turning point? You used the word serious. Like, at what point in your career did you like, I'm going all in, I'm going 100%, I'm going, as they say in the basketball world, I'm going hard in the paint, I'm giving everything, giving my all. At what turning point did that happen? Because there are many people who, Chad, are there, but they're about to make a legal or an illegal U-turn. They're going to go back in a different direction. So at what point did you say, this is it, I'm for real? And then what advice do you have for people who are at the edge and I'm about to turn this thing back around because I'm afraid what's on the other side?
It's a great question. I think that I spent enough time on the front end before I made my decision thinking about what I was going to do, but I also put myself in a good position to do so. You have to be in a good headspace, and you being a meditator, that helps you in your headspace. I used to meditate quite a bit. I haven't been doing it lately, but I put myself in a great position. I literally took off for about 6 weeks to figure out what I really wanted to do. I went and I just kind of went on a sabbatical and just kind of let it all go and really did some soul searching. And throughout all that thinking, I decided this is what I'm going to do. And when I decided I was going to do it, after I seeked wise counsel, after I asked the right questions to the right people, I decided to do it. And that's where people either stop or they push through that wall. And when I decide to do something, I do it. I go after it. That's what I do. If I were dating, I would go after that woman. I wouldn't just play coy. I wouldn't be undecided. I would say, hey, that's the one I want. If I wanted a certain car, I'm going to go get it. I'm going to hunt it down. I'm going to do it. If I want something that I want to eat, I'm going to go get it done. So a career is no different. And what you want to do, you have to decide. And deciding means to cut away from something and go this direction. That's a decision. And so a lot of people just have a hard time deciding. And so what they do is they go back to what's familiar. And that's what I encourage your audience not to do. Don't willy-nilly make a decision and think that you've decided. Give yourself plenty of thought, meditate, give yourself the space to be thinking clearly, seek wise counsel, seek wisdom from those that can help you. Make that decision and burn your boats behind you, because that's what it's all about.
And so you said seek wise counsel. I want to pause right there, put on the emergency brake, and then put the hazard lights on. What questions did you ask the counsel, the individuals, the friends, the families, the confidant? What are some of those questions that you asked them that really then moved you in the right direction? Because I believe that questions are so valuable when it comes to life-changing experiences.
Well, one thing you won't see out there about me is that I am a minister, and I've read the good book 3 times, so I might throw some scripture out there. There's safety in the multitude of counselors. So you have to have a multitude of people. Now, if I'm gonna if I need to get my engine worked on in my car, I'm not going to go talk to an interior decorator. So you have to find wise counsel. So go to people. Like, for instance, if I wanted to have a big podcast, which I have a podcast, but it's not a big podcast, I only do it sometimes whenever I think that it's something within my field that needs to get out there. And I might get heavier into podcasts, but if I'm going to be a great podcaster, I probably need to contact you. And so you're going to give me the wisdom that I'm going to need to get where I need to be. So I asked many, many people, but I honestly asked people that were outside of what the industry was. I asked people that maybe were more in tune emotionally with me. They understood more me as a person. I'd say, hey, can you see me doing that? Can you see whatever? I would get their opinion. And I would get people that disagreed with me. I would get people that agree with me. But I would ask a lot of questions, such as, what do you think about the market? What do you think about who I am as a person? What do you think about this beer? Do you think this is going to be accepted with me selling a $40 million business? You think they're going to pick that other guy that looks like he's GQ? I would ask all these questions. I mean, silly questions, big questions, all of them. And each little question got me down the road further to where I made a decision for myself to go ahead and do it. And, I've written that book, Swinging Doors, A Guide to Selling Your Business, that sells all around the world. I've become what they call SME. You probably know what that is, subject matter expert. And so I am asked about my business, and I'm asked to be a subject matter expert on my business, and I'm highly regarded in my business now. So the decision was what made it. And the wisdom of asking people that know me very well, both personally and professionally, to help me make that decision is what made the difference. And then when I decided, that was it. I didn't have one foot on one rock and another foot on another. I made the full jump.
So in much of the literature that I've read about you, from some of your other interviews and some of the writings that was sent to me, you are sort of a master salesman. Now I want you to walk me through what are the key components to selling anything, man. Like to selling this microphone, selling this shirt, this mouse pad. What are some of the key elements to selling?
Well, for me personally, and it probably contradicts what a lot of people
I like contradictions, man.
Yeah, it probably contradicts anything that you might see as far as selling information out there. If you look at the Brian Tracy's, if you look at the, Tony Robbins,
Yes.
He's an incredible sales trainer. If you look at these guys, actually Tony Robbins is a little different. I shouldn't put his name in there, but if you look at like Brian Tracy, or some of these other sales trainers that I can't really think of right now, but they're so interested in selling something. Well, I'm not so interested in selling something as I am as identifying you as a person, identifying your emotional needs, your financial needs, figuring out you about your life, and seeing if what I have is a fit for you. Now, if it's not a fit, I don't want to sell it to you. Why would I want to sell you a size 12 pair of shoes when you wear a size 10? If it's not a right fit, I don't want to do that. That's how I sell. I need to figure out who you are, what you need. Now, if I don't have what you need, that's okay. So I sell based on principles, values. I don't contradict my ethics, my core values and my principles. I don't do that. So my job really is to present to business sellers that want to sell their business that I'm the guy to sell their business. Now that's where some sales comes in. But how I sell them, that is, look, I'm the guy who will work nonstop. I'll show up on time. I'll answer my phone. I'll be authentic. I'll be genuine with you throughout the process. I will be loyal to you. I will work hard for you. I'm a professional in what I do. And, I'm an expert in what I do. Here's the book, read it, those things. That's how I sell. In other words, I sell with my experience. Now, to your audience, if you don't have that experience yet, then you would need to sell in a different manner. Hey, I don't have all the experience in the world, but I think I'm pretty good at this. Will you give me a shot? And how about this? Did anybody else give you a shot along the way? Somebody had to give you a shot. Otherwise you wouldn't be where you're at. Would you give me that shot? You could be very instrumental in my life if you were to help me. That might be how you have to sell in the beginning, and that goes for any industry. But once you get enough experience, you just sell on your reputation, your experience. And I think you sell on core values. I mean, I want to work with a guy who's got integrity, grit, salt, fight. I want that guy in my corner. I don't want a guy who's half in, half out. And that's where maybe some of my salesmanship comes in to help people that want to use me for my services. But as far as me selling a business to you, if it's a size 12 and you're a size 10, I don't want you to buy it. And I'm not just out there to sell something just so I can make a paycheck, because I want to sleep at night and I want to do my job until I die. And I'm working until I'm dead. I'm not retiring, because retiring is man-made, and I'll work until I'm 70 or 75 or whatever it is.
And so as I told you, Sound Bombing, that this guy, Chad, was going to bring a wealth of information, but I want to connect them with your books and also you, Chad. How can our listeners get copies of your book? And then how can they reach out to you if they want to talk more about sales, about selling company, about inspiration, about, I want to leave my job and I want to start anew? How could they get in contact with you? Let's start with the books first. Let's talk about how can they get the books, and then how can they get in contact with you?
Well, they can check out my books on Amazon. They can check out both books, From Blue to White, Working Man's Guide to Self-Employment. And then Swinging Doors, a guide to selling your business. Now, here's what they can do as far as Swinging Doors. If they want to go to petersonacquisitions.com, they can go to my website and they can let me know that I was on your show. It'll say, get the book. Click on get the book. Let me know that I was on your show, and I'll send them a free book. Just that easy.
Did you hear that? Let's say that. Did you hear that, Sound Bombers? Because you're listening to him on my show. And let me just say, this crazy fly, the fly is a part of the studio now. I think he's like the new engineer. This fly just won't go away. And I didn't want to grab the fly during this conversation because it's so deep. So we're gonna get a fly a name. His name is Jimmy. All right, Jimmy is flying around here. But did you all hear that Chad said because he's on the show and you're listening, he's going to give you a copy of his book? This is why I do this show. Tell them one more time, Jimmy. We'll leave it in the notes. But how could they get a copy of the book, that particular one again?
Yeah, go to Peterson
Acquisitions. Did I just call you Jimmy? That's the fly's name.
That's
Chad.
the fly. Yeah. Hey man. Hey, I'll deal with it. So yeah, go to petersonacquisitions.com and click on get the book. And if they let me know that I was on your show in the comment sections, I'll send them a free copy of Swinging Doors, a guide to selling your business.
I love it. So Chad, what legacy do you want to leave in the world, man? When you transition to wherever we're going next, whatever they call that next place, what do you want to leave behind?
Well, I want to leave behind core values and principles. I just think the world's lost it. I think anymore we're in a world of just make a quick buck. We've traded in authenticity for a spot in the corporate place. We've traded in values for our 401k. We've traded in integrity for our IRA. We've traded in loyalty to whatever will feed us. We've lost our soul. Let's face it, we've lost our soul as a nation. We've lost our soul as a world. It's not one thing, it's a lot of things that are the problem. And I believe that we live in the world of nothingness anymore. So while I don't agree with kneeling during the anthem, I see why from a different point of view, not from the point of view that they see it. I see it from a different point of view, that we are living in the world of nothingness. Greatness is no longer rewarded. Who are you to be great? That's really the mentality of people. Everybody wants to dumb down in this society. They want to be in the world of nothingness, and I don't want to be part of that world. So when you say what I want to leave behind, I want people to remember me, that I was authentic. I was real. I was genuine. I had integrity. I did it my way. You know that Frank Sinatra song.
Yes,
my way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do it my way. And so that's what I want to leave behind, is people that remember me that way, because life's very short and tomorrow we'll all be dead. Yesterday we were little boys and girls taking a nap. Today's great, but tomorrow we'll be dead. So there's no time for me to live an inauthentic life. And so I hope that I'm remembered as such.
Well, Chad, before you leave out of here, we want you to be remembered by some other things. We do something called the Super Bomb questions, and you cannot leave the studio until you answer these questions. And I know you're brilliant, and I know you quick. So are you ready, Chad Peterson?
I'm ready, brother. I'm ready. Give it to me.
All right. So here we go. What's your favorite word?
Cuss word or not cuss word?
I My friend Jody, who's an artist, she came on and said, she said, Lamar, can I cuss on your show? Yeah, Jody, you a grown woman. Yes, Chad, whatever the word is.
Well, my favorite word would have to be integrity.
There we go. What's your favorite quote?
If it's meant to be, it's up to me.
Love that. What's your superpower?
My superpower is abominable will. I have incredible will, and that superpower. Let's not forget that everything is a blessing and a curse. That will has worked against me as well.
Wow. What's your spirit animal?
Spirit animal is probably a butterfly.
What moves you to tears of joy?
Tears of joy, probably major milestones in my life, things that I've accomplished, and then I get to see it all unfold behind me, and I realize that I manifested it, that I created it by putting my thoughts out there. Those moments.
I love that. What moves you to tears of sorrow?
Probably unnecessary loss in my life that could have been prevented.
What do you wish you had more time to do?
Hang out with my dad who's dead.
That's interesting, because the next question, Chad, is what deceased person would you most like to meet or get advice from?
Well, probably my dad. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Sorry to hear about your loss of your dad. Final question, man. If you were in the Mr. America talent competition, beard and all, what would your talent be?
Mr. America, my talent. How about, quality or talent?
Talent.
Talent. Oh God. I don't know. I got quite a few of them. I don't know what my unreal talent would be, but, how about brazen honesty? That's a talent anymore. That's a talent. That's a forgotten talent.
I thought you were going to be like, I'll put somebody in the full Nelson.
Well, I could do that too.
Man, Chad, it was an honor and a blessing to hang out with you today, brother. I learned so much, man. And it's interesting. It's not about making millions. It's about making a difference in life. And to hear you say that's where you are, it says a lot about you as an individual, man. Love the beard, man. You're a Midwesterner like me too, so they'll send you that universal hug, that virtual hug. I appreciate you, brother. I want to thank you for joining me, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me on. I've really enjoyed it too.
And I also want to thank my amazing engineer, my Haitian brother Alexander Blanc, my awesome producer Nicole Klempaka for doing all the research, my theme music Supremacy, and all of you for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe. Stop being stingy. Share me with your friends. If you want to know more about me, you can go to drdrlds.com. And as always, believe something wonderful is about to happen. And some people miss the message because they're too busy looking for the mess. Thanks for tuning in. Do something for someone other than yourself today. You've been listening to Sound Bombing. Peace to you. Take care.